Okay, guys, welcome back to Cat Chronicles. I am your guest host for this week's episode, taking over from Cody Davis. And I guess we could probably say the headphones on the other ear or the microphones in the other hand, but we're joined by fan of the SaberCats, longtime friend of mine, Raheel Ramzanali. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Man, thank you so much. I'm excited that you are now preparing to take my job. I don't think it's ever going to work out where I'm going to take your job, so you don't have to stress about it too much. But I like that you're hosting and you guys are putting out some awesome content with the SaberCats.
Thank you. This is my first probably solo host, so I guess I'm a little nervous. It feels like I'm getting ready for a game or something, but it's going to be fun. It's always fun when we get together and have a chat. So no doubt it'll be seamless. It'll be fun. We'll talk sport and other bits and pieces. But firstly, I don't want to go into too much COVID chat because I know everyone's sick of that. But unfortunately for you, COVID came and you're now no longer with ESPN 97.5. But you're a busy man. So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in the last sort of 6 or 8 weeks, or 6 months now almost. It's getting on to there and how things are.
I know it's been so long. Like you think back and you go, wow, that was in April or that was in March. And yeah, I was unfortunately let go in May. I found out in May that my job would be out because of financial concerns from the pandemic. And it sucks, excuse me. Wow. I'm hitting puberty on air with you. But I also I'm one of the few people that lost 2 jobs during the pandemic because the Roughnecks of the XFL, they folded as well. I was doing sidelines with them and it was tough, man. It sucks when you lose your job and something you enjoy doing. I loved working at ESPN. I loved working with my friends. And that was one of the reasons why I stayed around as long as I could, because it was so much fun. But now it's giving me an opportunity to venture into other projects and work with friends that I haven't worked with in a while. So I'm doing a new podcast with one of my best friends, David Nuno, who you've met a few times, I believe, at ABC 13. So I'm doing that with him. I just recently started doing some daily sports updates with a South Asian TV station called NTV. And it's incredible what they've built. It's an online station, but they are, catering to the community that's often forgotten, the South Asian community in Houston. And it's a huge community. So they needed somebody to do sports. And I said, well, I would love to. I've got some time right now. So I'm doing that. I'm doing my own podcast. I'm doing as many different things as possible to, 1, stay busy, and 2, to get more experience creating content in different ways. And that's just like in sports, right? You never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen from one possession to the next. So you've got to be able to adapt. And it's been cool. Now it sucks, right? Like you're at home all the time, but it's also fun. It gives you new energy.
Yeah. So our listeners, hopefully they're all familiar with you being devout Houston supporters, but I think you joined Gal Media 2007. So I guess you're a veteran of the sportscasting fraternity here in Houston. So for us at the SaberCats, I know coming into ESPN, I think it was one of our first public appearances with you and John and Del. And I guess that was when our relationship started. You've been a massive supporter of ours. You've been out to plenty of games. You've been a guest at a couple of games. So for a veteran or an experienced sports fan, pundit, broadcaster like yourself, how have you seen the transition from the SaberCats into the Houston sporting landscape?
Man, it's been awesome to see you guys succeed, right? There's a plan in place, but we've seen it so many times with new teams that come into the market that have this plan and they fail to execute. And I think that is one of the big reasons why teams fail trying to crack the Houston sports market. And you guys have succeeded so far because of the plan in place that is being executed not only on a local level, but also on the national level, right, with the MLR. And the second part to this is you guys are awesome people. It's that simple sometimes. When you look at what's happening in the content creation business and what's happening with radio, TV, it's a lot about, can you form a community? Can you have people root for you so they support your work? And you guys did such a great job. Matt, when Matt was still here, the interviews, you guys never talked down to people that didn't know about rugby. And I think that was huge. And then also the marketing plan of having people explain the rules, right? This is an unfamiliar sport for a lot of people in Houston. So to not, I don't want to say dumb it down, but to make it relatable, it was such a big part. And it's been so cool to see you guys succeed with that. And you see the passion behind the fans now. Like, they love the SaberCats, and being at a game is such a cool experience because these fans wanted rugby, or they just found rugby, and they are all in on it.
Yeah. Did you have much of a history of rugby before, I guess, we came? Obviously, you would have known about it and heard about it, having the USA playing Houston a few times. But before the SaberCats, what was your understanding or knowledge of the game?
So my first experience with rugby was when my wife and I were on our honeymoon in Fiji. We wanted to go to Fiji really badly. Like, that was our honeymoon destination. We picked it, and we went to this small village. And the resort over there is called Crusoe's, but it's run by a small village right next to the resort, and it's incredible. So, one of our hosts there, he was taking us around in the village. We went, of course, we would walk the beachfront every single day. And every evening we just saw kids playing rugby. Like, it reminded me of playing pickup football with my friends, or pickup hoops with my friends. And I instantly just fell in love watching those kids play and the happiness that they had. And, they were mimicking moves that I've seen on the football field. And that's something that I didn't know, right? Like, the angles are so similar, trying to get to the edge, the importance of setting the edge, and seeing that, and they were playing like 4-on-4, just pick up, having fun. And that was my first experience, and I couldn't stop watching those guys play. And it was so cool. And then just talking to the people at the resort about what rugby means to them, I just started rooting for it. I was like, this is so much fun. And then in the Olympics, I started watching the sevens, which is faster, right?
Yeah, a little bit faster. Kind of like the beach 4-on-4, but 7-on-7 with all the space. So.
And the game is over in about 45 minutes, I believe, or 45 minutes, an hour, it feels like.
Yeah, so I mean, sevens is 7 minutes a half. So they play, that game's over within 20 minutes per game. So they rattle through, games over a weekend. So they have a whole tournament over 3 days or 2 days. So that's been hardest hit by COVID. I think a lot of the 7 series stops have been cancelled. The England sevens team have their funding cut. So they're now doing self-funding to try and get to Tokyo next year. So, hopefully it's not the end of the sevens game, because it is the game that is probably world known and a lot more people have seen and relate rugby to as the sevens format. So, fingers crossed that that picks up and that continues. But
yeah, it's cool. We were watching that a lot during the Olympics when it was on. And, because when I was doing my show at ESPN, the matches would usually air right when we were on air. And just watching that and just how fast it was, some of the angles, again, it was so much fun. And that's what, and then right after that, I believe you guys came into studio, and that's when we started talking about it. And that was my experience. I was like, this is cool. And then I took a big, like, we were doing a pregame show with you guys, and I was supposed to do some play-by-play. So I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea how to do play-by-play. So I spent an entire day, like 12 hours worth of watching as much rugby as I could, trying to figure out the lingo, trying to figure out like how to convey the game the right way. So that was my big crash course, and I'm glad that happened. Even though I didn't call any games, thank the Lord. That was the best thing that happened to rugby ever, is me not calling games. But it helped me understand it, and it helped me understand what I was watching a lot more when you guys did eventually start playing.
Yeah, awesome. And that's that would have been back at the Skeeters. So you obviously had a relationship with the Skeeters at your time there. So man, it feels like years ago when we were playing out of Constellation. But that's when we kind of burst onto the scene. We had a great home opener against Seattle, had 5,000 people there.
Yep.
And now we've got the Aviva Stadium, which is taking shape nicely. Construction on our gym is, I know you're a bit of a fitness guy. So once that's up and there's weights in there, I'll bring you out and we'll get a workout in.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned your podcast before, the Raheel show. I think I featured on it in 2018. Again, that feels like forever ago. So we have some shared interests. I know you're a sports fanatic, so you've got UT grad, so you're a Hookham Horns kind of Horns. What are they? No, is it Hookham? Yeah,
Hookham Horns.
You guys are Hookham. So we've got some UT guys, we've got some Aggies guys in our team. Texans, obviously, Astros, PSG's obviously a big team of yours, and I just need to know if you've got your hands on any of the PSG merch Uh,
So I have the initial PSG Jordan Fives that they released
mhm.
when the partnership was first announced. I have a pair of those, and I
Yeah,
didn't get them. I didn't get them the first time they released them, and I was like, man, I really missed out on that one. Even though they nobody like scooped those up, they were still available for a while, and
yeah,
I just didn't get them. And then one day I was like, man, I really want those shoes, and I luckily found some guy in Austin who was selling his for
yeah.
below retail, and
Wow.
my friend scooped them up for me, and I
Yep.
now have those pair. And then I got a few jerseys and
Nice.
sweatshirts, and it's cool. It's fun to support something. And
Hmm.
people always give me like, they're like, man, you're not a true fan. I'm like, absolutely, I'm not a true fan, because the only reason I'm rooting for them is because of Jordan Brand, because
Yeah.
I love Jordan Brand so much. They've been so kind to me. So I'm going to root for anything they support except Oklahoma football. They are,
That's fair.
yeah, one of
That's
my,
fair.
I always give somebody their grief that how come we couldn't get this deal done with UT?
Hmm.
Like, I need a deal done with UT, and then it's going to be all
That's
out
the
madness
world
for me.
complete for you. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
going to be kitted out.
that would be fantastic, right? So I love supporting teams, right? Like, that's why one, it's a great escape. Two, it's somebody that grew up playing sports and somebody that grew up learning life lessons in sports like you did. I
Hmm.
think we understand that when sports are happening, it's fun and all that, but to see the story within the story, to see these guys overcome so much. Heck, when I'm watching you guys play, to see you overcome storylines within the game that you can apply to life as well,
Yeah.
it's the best. There's nothing else that can teach you life lessons like sports.
No, 100%. And I think it's the one thing that kind of straightened everyone out in the middle of this pandemic is we went 2 to 3 months without live sport. And anyway, and people are like, damn, what do we do with our spare time? And now it's come back, and then conversations have started and awarenesses have started, and different initiatives and charity things, and that's the root of a lot of these charitable organizations and awareness programs is sport. So
Mhm.
it's actually a good segue into my next kind of point to talk to you about. You're a famous model, obviously. A lot of people should know this by now. I made sure my brother kept an eye. He lives in London, and I saw you were plastered all over some big red buses and some of the tube stops. So uh, Movember goes hand in hand with a lot of rugby teams around the world. So whether it is during November or normally if teams go on tour, they'll grow facial hair for the duration of the tour. So you're an ambassador for Movember. So maybe it's something this year that us as the SaberCats can get behind and support you and support the Movember cause, because it is a very, I guess, unique, but also very prevalent organization at the moment, or cause,
Mhm.
dealing with many, not just men's problems, but mental health problems and things like that. So if you want to elaborate on that and tell our listeners where they can look for more info or who they can get in touch with if
Yeah.
they want to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So Movember, as you mentioned, we get to keep our mustaches for a month, right? And there's two ways to do it. You can either start clean shaven and then start building up the mustache, or you go right in with the mustache. And that's what I usually do. Is I'll
Yeah.
just shave it down the day after Halloween, and boom, we're ready to go for a month. And the way I got started with this, when I was working for a company in Houston doing some social media work, one of the guys was like, hey, you guys want to do Movember? And I'm like, yeah, I'll grow a funny mustache. I always do it anyways, right?
Yeah.
But then I learned that there's an actual charitable foundation behind all of this, and
Mhm.
that Movember is not just, no shave November. That's a totally different thing. Or keep that funny mustache for November. Movember is actually a charity and a foundation that gives back to a lot of men's health causes, as you mentioned, whether it be physical, whether it be, relating to prostate cancer, which was a big cause for a while. And we know the importance of that, getting checked up. Make sure you guys are getting checked up, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're 20s, 30s, what does it hurt, right? Just go get
Yeah.
checked out and make sure you're fine. And then now they've really gone into mental health, which is something that we as men don't focus on as much. And I think we lack a lot. So in general, men are way behind in mental health. And then you add something that's important to me. I am a person of color, right? I'm a South Asian. I grew up in Pakistan. There is no mental health in our community. So when I had the chance to represent my community for this campaign, I
Yeah.
was so happy, because now hopefully a kid that looks like me, a younger kid, hopefully, because you don't want to look like me if you're in your 20s. But
Come on, you look great.
so if somebody, sees that and they go, wow, this guy looks like me, and they're talking about mental health, what is that? Just mentoring a lot of youth around the city of Houston, nobody knows what that means, right? And when we think of mental health, Sam, it's a lot of, oh man, like you are depressed or you are seeing a therapist, and it's the worst case example. That's not it. Mental health, there's other steps you can take so we don't get to that point, right? Focusing on your fitness, taking an hour a day to focus on yourself, whether it be fitness, meditate, yoga, whatever it is. Give yourself that break. There's no reason for us to grind hard all the time, although that's built into who we are as people and as a community, the South Asian community. We grind, right? Like my dad still works 7 days a week. He recently just started working 6 days a week, and he is in his 60s.
Wow.
So change that narrative. It's important to me, and Movember has given me that platform to connect with not only people that look like me, but other men and young men around the world. And it's so cool. It's so humbling when you get pictures from your friends, in New York, they're on a subway and they see that goofy picture. It's just
it was a healthy handlebar. It was a very good moustache. So we'll put a photo up on
here.
this.
Hold on, let me see. I'll show.
Yeah, get the photo.
There it is, right there.
Look at that.
We'll
get one up as well. I'll get Drew to make sure he puts one up on when we put one up.
Yeah.
But definitely something I'll probably look at. We've got a bunch of guys have re-signed, a lot of new signings. Unfortunately, they're not going to be here for a while due to our season starting later and COVID, preventing travel. But it's an easy thing to do virtually. And again, if we're raising awareness and just asking those questions and offering that lifeline or just that phone line for people to reach out and have a chat, it's a big point in rugby. And fortunately, a lot of teams, a lot of organisations, competitions around the world have ambassadors and are raising these issues to make them are more comfortable, because that's what it is. It's being comfortable talking about it. And as you said, in men, it's a stigma like, no, I'm 6'4", full of muscle. Nothing can hurt me. Whereas, deep down, you're fighting these battles and have these demons that can be talked about with people like you, with people like me, with friends, just having that chat. So,
and I found that the best way to do this with the younger generation, and this is why I focus on fitness and working out so much, and I invite as many kids as I can. Come work out with me. Come on, no charge. I'm not charging. Like we're not doing. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm just somebody that loves working out. Right? Like I'm committed to pushing my body to its limits to figure out what I can do, what I can't do. And I always invite these guys, and they're young men. Like 14, 25, right? I always invite play basketball with me. Come work out with me, because I've noticed that with sports there, and just growing up, being on basketball teams, football teams, track teams, the downtime between sports, that's the best way to form, one, a friendship, and two, to form that trust to talk about certain things, to express those feelings. And it's paid dividends, man. It's cool. Like I'll jump on calls with a lot of friends and just check up on them. And through sports, a kid that who had a lot of confidence issues. It took him a while, but he finally opened up to me just to give him that confidence, to talk him through and tell him that life, it's tough, man. It's tough in high school, and it feels like there's no end in sight, but I promise you things get better. So it's fun to do that. It's cool to do that. And heck, I mean, you and I will text every once in a while as well. Just checking up on each other is so important, man. And sports allows that.
Yeah. Awesome. That's good, man. And again, we haven't had a workout yet. We've been talking about it for about 3 years, working out together. So I'm going to take you up on that in the next couple of weeks and get you out to the stadium when it's up and running. And maybe even, I know you're a bit of a pro on the charity football scene. Maybe we get a charity rugby game organised and see if you can light up there. Who else in the the sports broadcasting industry would you like to come up against the most? Obviously, with John's probably the first one that comes to mind if you're opposite him and you get to put a shot on him. But any other sports broadcasters in Houston that you'd like to see compete in a charity flag rugby match?
Oh man, I'm good with anybody. Honestly, the one person I don't want to compete against, and it's because he's always been on my team, is David Nuno. He's one of my best friends. I've known him since 2007. He is the dirty guy. He's PJ Tucker. Okay. He'll do all the dirty work.
Yeah.
He's not going to complain about not getting the ball. And he and I have always worked in a good cop, bad cop routine. So he'll always be the bad cop. I'm always the good cop. And if I went up against him, it would be so intense because I will talk trash to him. I don't normally talk trash, but I will talk trash to one of my brothers, right? But I think it would be fun to go up against him, and he's a beast. He is a triathlon freak. Okay. So he's
he'll run
done
for
an
days. He won't
Ironman.
stop.
Yeah. He doesn't stop. Like he'll swim, run, bike, and that's his thing. And he is just, I mean, he is ripped. You can't tell on the suits, because he's a TV guy, but he is awesome. And I would love to go up against him. Anybody, I'm always, it's always fun. Like, I don't think of my colleagues as, enemies. A lot of people do that nonsense. To me, it's like they're all friends. We're all just making a living, doing something cool. So just to compete against him is always fun. Paul Gallant, you remember him? He came and tried out for you guys.
Paul tried out. Yeah, he's doing well up in Seattle now, and I think I've still got the photos
so great up there.
of
I'm
him
so
doing
happy for
well.
him. So he and I competed in the flag football game a few times. He won the most valuable player the first time, and he would be running after me at all. I mean, my dude does not stop, man, and he gets a little dirty on the field, so I love it. So it's cool, man. It's just fun competing against people that you normally don't get to compete against in charity stuff.
And that's what we, in rugby, that's the beauty about the MLR and the growth of it at the moment is it's attracting these superstars from around the world that have played 50 times for their country, 100 times for their country. They've been playing professionally in Europe for 10 years, and they're all coming out now thinking, I want to experience a new culture and play rugby in the biggest sporting market in the world. So you've got guys coming out of college who are coming up against, two-time World Cup players or, World Cup winners. And that's the beauty of it is like, you want to be the best, you have to play against the best. So whether it's a fun pickup charity game or an MLR final, the things are the same, and competing against the best is what we strive for and is how we're going to be better players. So, mate, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you repping the jersey proudly there.
Got you guys, of course.
We've got to get you an updated one, I think. So
yeah, we can't show the other.
No, I'm working through next year's lineup of kit and apparel now. So excited for what the SaberCats are going to look like. We look good, play good, feel good. It all goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Summer's been and gone, but it's still hot in Houston. So hopefully the budgie smugglers have got a few wares. I know you've been down to Galveston a fair bit.
I got them right. They're in my drawer right now. So
enjoying the sun. But mate, yeah, good luck with everything. Good. That's where they top of the pile, I hope, because they're freshly worn.
Yeah.
So I want to strewn all over the apartment. Becca's like, what the? They're everywhere. But plenty of things going on with you. I know I encourage people to listen to your podcast. If they haven't already, if there's any left, the Spicy Boys merch, I've got my hands on some of that. So I'm expecting that to go up in value over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
so
it's going to go on StockX pretty soon. Hopefully the value, it goes up. So one last thing before I end this with you, or you end this with me. So I just started reading the All Blacks biography. So there's is a really good book. I was gifted that from my friends at Lululemon. They give you books to read all month long. And one of the cool takeaways from that is the All Blacks are by far the most successful rugby organization, right? Like from your standpoint, agreed, right? I think they are, based on everything that I've been reading right now, the most successful professional organization as well in sports. You can make an argument for some in the American and soccer landscape as well. But one of the cool things that I think a lot of people forget is when you are playing for a team like that, when you are part of a culture like that, the humility. And that's one of the big things that they drive home in this book, is that all these players have got to have this humility, because the whole entire organization has it, right? To the point where you've got their top stars cleaning up the locker rooms after. It is like, just reading that to learn about that was one of the coolest things. Was like, these guys are the best at what they do. They are part of the team that is the best to ever do it. And they still have the humility and the culture to still clean up a locker room and sweep up afterwards. It was phenomenal.
And that might not sound like much to some people, but if you get off a rugby field and it's a wet, muddy day, we've all got tape under our socks, under our shorts, under our jersey shoulders. Everything's taped up. You come in after 80 minutes of battle against an international team, and that change room is it is a mess. There's dirt everywhere. And they're obviously at the pinnacle of it, and they've set the standard across the world. I've played in games where you go in to say hi to the teammates or your opposition after the game, and they're sweeping up, they're cleaning up, all because of, you know, the way that rugby is drilled into us and the way that we're meant to play the game and carry ourselves off the field. Completely different to how we carry ourselves on the field. We're madmen, but afterwards it's you know, it's all about humility, as you say. So I might have to borrow that book after you, but also the All or Nothing, I think, goes into a bit of that as well. On Amazon, there's an All Blacks documentary, which covers them as well. And I've played with a few guys that have played for the All Blacks, and you know, what you see in these books, on these shows, is exactly how these guys are. They're humble, they're friendly, they're funny, they're just, you know, they're there to help where they can, and you know, they're growing the game from the top down, which is great. And then, you know, obviously it goes up from the bottom. So
yeah, that's so cool.
A good one for the listeners to go out and either get the book and read up on the All Blacks if they don't already know about them. And that's where we strive to be as an organisation, is to be that, you know, providing and friendly. And I think we're doing a pretty good job here in Houston in terms of getting out and providing services to people, you know, who don't know about rugby and might want to know about rugby. And ultimately, if they come to a game and watch us, then pick up the ball and play themselves, and it's job done for us and put smiles on our faces.
Yeah, and that's it, right? Again, goes back to the plan of, you can say you're going to do all these things. You can say we're going to have this kind of culture. We're going to say that we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't execute, if you don't actually go out and do this, and it doesn't matter how famous you are, it doesn't matter how big of a name you have, then what's the point, right? Like, and that's so cool to see not only you guys doing, but on a grand scale, that teams are still doing that is so important, because there's so much out there regarding, we're going to do this, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's what we stand for. Here's what our culture stands for. And here's what our company stands for. And then when it's time to actually take action, nobody does it. And you go, wait, hold on. I thought you guys stood for this, you know? So I love seeing that. And I think that's something that we can all learn from.
Definitely. Well, mate, we look forward to having you out at our games next season when we get around to it. And
I can't wait.
Wish you nothing but the best for the future, your endeavors, and much love to you and your family, mate, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, likewise. I'll see you out there. We got to work out. I promise I will come. I promise. Definitely. You set the time, I will be there now.
I'll be there too. Let's go. Let's do it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.